What is up guys, Taiki here. Today I want to lay out the CANTO and FXS thesis as a follow-up to my maker trade. So if you like the content, please like and subscribe and check out the premium Discord. Link will be in the description below. So ever since I've laid out my bull case for maker, it's basically been up only for the past couple of months, and I've been a big proponent that I think the maker ETH ratio needs to get to parity, which is 1. And I think, it's going to continue going much higher. And I know, you might be watching this for CANTO and FXS, but in order for you to understand the thesis around those coins, you first have to understand the maker thesis first. So feel free to skip the section if you already know the thesis. But the idea is people miss out on maker. I don't think retail likes maker. I think maker is mostly a coin held by higher net worth individuals, funds, and more savvy traders. And crypto people, like the average retail degen, just wants low cap coins that can actually pump a lot. And maker going up 50% in like a few months. That's pretty good, right? It's very liquid, but it's like nothing compared to like Nvidia going up 3x in like a span of a couple of weeks. I'm just like, I'm like literally just predicting that, okay, like maker went up a lot. So like, what are people going to buy next? And it's kind of like the rotation games that are more higher risk. And I will say that maker is a much higher conviction hold for me. And that's reflected in my portfolio sizing. But I'm just sharing this idea. Okay. Just like letting you know. So let's talk about the maker thesis. So, even if you're bullish crypto, you have to respect the fact that if the risk-free rate is at 5.5%, it's going to have, like, dollars are going to have a difficult time finding their way on chain. And Maker owns over $2.5 billion with the US Tbills earning roughly 5%. And tokenized treasury projects like Maker are going to be the main beneficiaries of a higher rates for longer regime, which I think we're in right now. The economy is still really strong. I don't think the Fed is cut rates anytime soon. And my literally my mindset is, okay, like I'll like just literally hold Maker as long as crypto is just like sucks, right? Crypto is boring. And then once crypto becomes exciting, okay, I can rotate out of maker, which is like a pretty anti-cyclical defensive play, into more hype narrative growth plays. And that's kind of how I view the markets right now. And these stablecoin issuers like Maker are pretty insane. So a centralized stablecoin issuer like Tether, they make $1 billion every quarter. And what do? They take in your dollars, they issue Tether, and with your dollars, they just buy T-bills. And they keep all the profits. And if you hold USDT on chain, then you're literally being diluted, right? We all got into crypto as like an inflation hedge, right? As a hedge against inflation. But by holding centralized stablecoins, you're being inflated away, right? Because you're not actually earning the risk-free rate. And Nick Carter also agrees with this. And I argue that the stablecoin market cap will continue to bleed until stablecoin issuers share a yield from US T-bills, right? And Nick Carter, right, who's like a pretty smart Bitcoiner, I respect him a lot, he agrees. And I still think, we're relatively early into the tokenized treasuries trend. And I'm not saying that, prices are going to pump, but I'm just saying that, okay, if you expect DeFi to get to a trillion TVL, which I do, right, at some point in the future, then like, what is it going to be led by? Is it going to be led by Ponzi's, or is it going to be led by dollars coming into the system? Definitely dollars coming into the system. How will dollars get into the ecosystem? Tokenized treasury. Pretty simple. And I think the industry, like you and I as a whole, should demand like decentralized issuers to distribute interest payments to on-chain holders. I know, if you go to Coinbase, you can take USDC or earn 5%, but that kind of goes against like the decentralized, permissionless nature of, I guess, like yield-bearing dollars, and it's not really that different from like going to Fidelity and like buying CDs yourself. And I think what's more exciting is the idea that you can have these interest-bearing dollars, like these yield-bearing dollars, and add like some financial engineering on top to actually create like better financial products for people all around the world. And people think I'm a maker bull, right? By the way, like I even purchased a maker bull shirt. So top signal vibes all around. But like my entire thesis is, okay, like I'm not like a maker maxi. I'm just like really bullish any like decentralized project that can issue their stablecoin on chain and then take the dollar backing, buy T-bills with it, and then distribute those interest payments to on-chain holders of the stablecoin or like the governance token holders. And this thesis expands to CANTO and FXS. And I think I've been pretty consistent with my messaging. I'm not like just like randomly like talking about random altcoins for the sake of talking about them. I'm like, okay, like this is my thesis, and these coins fit under my thesis, so I buy them. And if they go up, that's great. But obviously, Mr. Market will be will determine whether I make money or not. And I mentioned this before, right? Like last month I said, okay, like I'll talk about Maker a lot, but I'm not a Maker maxi. It's just the best token to hold, and I still believe that. And I get a lot of questions like, what are your price targets? I don't really have them, and I know people ask this because they want like, okay, like like things to be handed to them on like a silver platter. But like my mentality is pretty simple. I'm going to continue to hold Maker, and I expect Maker ETH, like that ratio, to continue going up as long as on-chain is in a recession. And I've talked about this in my last video, but this is the consumers. So this is the ratio of the consumers staples sector, right? Like that ETF divided by the SPY, like the S&P 500. And you can see that whenever we're in a recession, consumer staple stocks tend to outperform just because people prefer the stability and the predictability of these like companies like Clorox, who literally sell toilet paper. And I kind of think of Maker as Clorox, right? They're selling toilet paper. Like, is it unreasonable to expect people to not want to take dollars and earn 5% through the DAI savings rate, right? And literally, I just think that on-chain is in a recession right now. So if I think so, right, until there's like crazy things happening on-chain, I expect Maker ETH to go up, and I will continue to hold Maker ETH. And if I see signal and like signs that like a real bull market is returning, then I will rotate out of Maker into more hype, like narrative plays. Obviously, I'm making this video in September. Chances are by October, November, December, my minds will change because you kind of have to be nimble when it comes to crypto. But I'm like just literally sharing my thoughts, like, just being transparent being transparent as much as possible. So, as long as crypto remains boring, Maker ETH should go up is my idea. So how does this relate to CANTO? It's pretty simple, right? Like I mentioned, Maker goes up, people will want to chase like higher beta altcoins. It's kind of like, in Q1, when Lido went up, like everything else went up that had anything to do with liquid staking derivatives. That's kind of the prediction I'm making. And I think the fact that like nothing other than Maker has moved kind of makes me think that we're still relatively early. I'm not saying we're in like the first inning. I actually think we're in the first inning if you think about it from like a 10-year time horizon. But if you think about it from like like for the next couple of months, like maybe we're in like the third, fourth, or fifth inning. I have no idea. Obviously, I'm like just some random dude on the internet. But let's talk about the CANTO, right? So coins that can pump more. I still think Maker is much better, and like I mentioned, it reflects my position sizing. But there you go. CANTO, they recently are going to migrate, or they announced that they're going to migrate to a ZK EVM layer 2 on Ethereum using the Polygon CDK, the chain development kit. And they're going to also implement real world assets. I honestly think their like L2 migration is a meme. Like maybe they got paid by Polygon. I don't really think it matters too much. I just view it as an Alta 01 with a real world asset strategy or tokenized Tbill / yield bearing stablecoin strategy. They're going to onboard Hashnote and Fortunify to bring tokenized treasuries on chain. And they're pretty reputable partners. Like they're not like some random startup that just got funded. They've been around for quite some time now. And this is going to be what it's going to look like. I mean, they're literally going to copy the Maker and FXS playbook where they're going to issue their own stablecoin called Note. And with the backing, they're going to buy T-bills with it. And, funds that are KYC'd can use T-bills as collateral, borrow Note, swap it for USDC, buy T-bills, and kind of like do this looping strategy. And you can also, like, if you're like a retail user like myself, you can take USDC or Note, right? Put it in the lending market, get C Note in return, which is like a yield bearing. It's kind of like stake DAI, right? It's going to pay like 5% or something like along those lines. It hasn't launched yet, so I mean, it might be sold in news, it might be high risk, but nothing in crypto or like nothing in like the financial markets come without risk. And when things look really, really bad, like as it does for CANTO, I argue that's also like when there's like max financial opportunity. And I'm not really sure what the numbers are going to be like, but I think it's going to be like this. If you're KYC'd, like if you're like a fund or a high net worth individual, you can kind of like do this looping strategy. And as a result, some like these people will be borrowing Note for like 5%, and then that 5% will go to like anyone that's lending out Note. I also heard that Ambient Finance is going to be forking their DEX on the CANTO, and Scott, the founder, is going to build his own concentrated liquidity DEX. So I think the Note stablecoin should be pretty liquid, and they're also going to have like VE CANTO. I have no idea what it's going to look like, to be honest, but I think that, they're going to do some governance votes maybe sometime in Q4, and like give boosted yields on stablecoins. I mean, don't quote me on this. I mean, like it's literally what I heard in a grapevine. CANTO has a market cap of like a TVL of $42 million, which is down a lot from when it peaked at the beginning of the year at 200 million. But it can't like literally for Maker, right? DAI supply is hitting not all-time highs, but it's just like going up every single day. And I don't really expect that trend to be that dissimilar when it comes to like the Note stablecoin market cap and also Frax we'll talk about later. CANTO is a $75 million market cap, $140 million FDV, and in the grand scheme of things, I mean, look, this is pretty cheap, right? And if you kind of compare it to like other like L1s in terms of like FDV, Avalanche at 6.6 billion, Hedera 2.4, Cronus 1.5, Near 1, Algorand 1 billion, Phantom 600 million, Kava 500 million FDV. I mean, come on, right? I mean, like, obviously, like the real value of these like alt L1s are much lower, just because most of the tokens are held by insiders and they're not going to dump. And if they do, then they'll do it over like a slower period of time. And you know, CANTO is also a questionable token, right? I kind of think of it as like a farm token that also has like a layer 2 branding. But I think CANTO is much less questionable than Kava at 500 million FDV, Phantom at 600 million FDV. Like, you know, like most of these. I mean, like this is ridiculous, right? In CANTO, if you look at the liquidity profile, it's pretty liquid. I think it was like what, like $15 million worth of liquidity on chain for a $75 million market cap token. So, you know, like I don't mind talking about very liquid tokens on my channel. When it becomes like less liquid, it becomes a little bit more murkier. But I mean, it's pretty liquid. But you know, obviously, the reason it's super liquid is because they're incentivizing that liquidity with their tokens. And you know, CANTO is basically a farm token with an L2 brand. Eventually, they might actually become an L2. But it kind of seems like, I mean, I kind of view CANTO as like a DeFi project, right? Like that's like incentivizing liquidity. They're going to do their own RWA strategy. Maybe it can be valued like an L1 or like an L2, but that's not really how I'm thinking about it. But like if you think about it, like most L1, L2 tokens are farm tokens anyways. So that's kind of like a cynical view to view the trade. So CANTO is like trading at 14 cents, and there's been pretty significant buy pressure around the 10-cent area, and it's already had one cycle, right, in Q1 of this year, and it was super hyped. Everyone was saying, I can't believe it, and then okay, like everyone sold, right, and yeah, like no one cares about it anymore. But I'm starting to care, right? I care. I'm looking into the fundamentals. I'm looking into the future catalysts, and I feel like a lot of people are becoming apathetic to the markets for good reason. So you know, I can definitely see like why it can't even put in new all-time highs, or like at least, you know, like 2, 3, 4x from here. I'm not really making a prediction, right? I'm like just saying, okay, like this is a trade. Maker and FXS can be viewed as like a longer-term investment. I view CANTO as more of like a short to medium-term trade. This is the daily chart. It's been down only. It was actually able to put in a low, a high, a higher low, and a higher high. So maybe, you know, there's a trend reversal happening. I have no idea. I could also be dumped on by like farmers, right? And I'm not sure if you can see this, but from a farming perspective, right? I mean, they don't call me humble farmer for no reason. The CANTO ATOM LP is paying 71%, CANTO ETH paying 42%, CANTO Note, which is a stablecoin, pays 90%. You can also LP for Note USDC, Note USDT for like 6 to 8%. So from a farming perspective, it's pretty good. And I still think that, you know, I mean, I have no idea when they're going to launch. I heard they're going to do it pretty soon. But it kind of goes along the entire thesis of, okay, I still think Maker has upside. And if Maker has upside, like what are things that can move more? And from a trading perspective, maybe it's like a game of hot potato. And I don't want to encourage that too much on this channel, right? I try to talk more about like a longer term thesis. But there is an off chance where CANTO does become like a Polygon RWA hub. I mean, I have no idea, right? I mean, like literally like at the day of recording, like they don't have anything. So, you know, it is high risk. But, you know, if you expect Tbill to hit all-time highs, then I just like don't see like why price can't also hit all-time highs. And if you want more content, free content, check out my newsletter. Everything's free. We post out like 3 to 4 newsletters every single week. And if you want to upgrade your premium research, check out the premium Discord. The link will be in the description below. So, when it comes to like these real world asset plays, I think, you know, Maker is still the best hold. Liquidity begets liquidity. People talked about, you know, Lido losing market share, but Lido only gains market share. Why? Because staked ETH is super liquid, and people trust the staked ETH brand. Similarly, people trust DAI, right? And any new stablecoin that launches kind of needs time for it to build out the lendiness and people to trust it. And I think there's a reasonable chance that like Maker like just outperforms FXS and CANTO. I mean, it has for like the past couple of months, right? But you know, maybe it makes sense to hold big bags of Maker, right? Which I'm doing right now. I hold big bags of Maker, right? Like they've gotten huge. But you know, Maker Bull, and then smaller bags of these higher beta plays, which might work, which might not work. But you size these coins and these trades given like the risk profile. So I'll briefly talk about Frax. Their audit concluded tomorrow, apparently on the 20th. And yeah, so if you go to the Telegram, apparently like the first attestation for their real world asset strategy is gonna come online at the beginning of October, which should mean that they're starting to deploy dollars to Tbills and whatnot. Obviously, I have no idea when they're gonna launch. Like Sam in August said that they're gonna launch in a few days, but it's like basically October and they haven't launched. So like when you're in crypto, like these devs will like say things, or like team members will say something, it's gonna get delayed, right? That's kind of how crypto things work. It's not because they're evil. It's just that it's really, really impossible to like predict how long these things will take. And one bear case for FXS is that Frax. Right now, the current collateralization ratio is like 92%, and there's not going to be any direct token value to FXS holders until this gets to 100. So even if Frax market cap like doubles, which might like get the collateralization ratio is like 95% or something, it's going to take some time for FXS to get actual value accrual. So both CANTO and FXS, they don't really have like direct like yield, right? Or like direct buybacks. It's pure narrative. Whereas Maker, it has buybacks and the narrative. And that's why I think Maker has been moving so much. And I still expect Maker to continue going higher or grind higher, right? Just because it's the only token in crypto that has actual direct inflows from like actual real revenues in a transparent way. Frax market cap going down as well, but I don't really care about this. I care more about what it looks like after they launch their tokenized treasury product. And like I mentioned, Maker is outperforming for a reason, and CANTO and FXS are smaller market caps for a reason. There are less buyers because they're a less valuable like DAO project token for good reason. So I have no idea how long this video. Let me just quickly check. Okay, it's pretty short actually. We like that. Okay, 17 minutes. I'll just leave here with some parting thoughts. I talk about these trades like Maker, right? CANTO, FXS. I'm actually underwater on FXS, so I've been wrong on that. But I went to a DYDX event last week, and I met a few people, and of course everyone there. I mean, it was a DYDX event, right? And I was asking popular traders, like fund managers, what they're bullish on, and it seemed like right now there are very, very few opportunities in the liquid markets right now. Most traders and fund managers view Maker and DYDX as one of the few investable assets in crypto in the short term. Obviously, over like the long, like altcoins, right? Of course, Bitcoin and Ether can be good holds. A lot of other altcoins have like murky like unlock schedules and whatnot. There were lots of positive sentiment around Sol, but I think people that hold Sol are also likely to hold DYDX, and this was a DYDX event. And many are hopeful about the Bitcoin halving in 2024. In theory, on paper, the halving shouldn't really have like that big of an impact in terms of price. But I guess a reduction in the inflation rate can also be viewed as potential inflows, right? Because let's say there's like $1 million worth of Bitcoin being mined every single day, and that goes down to $500,000. Well, technically, like that incremental 500K can be viewed as inflows, right? Or you kind of get what I meant. But I think the more important thing is it's a narrative, right? The entire social media, mainstream media, they're conditioned to think that Bitcoin pumps every 4 years, crypto pumps every 4 years. So I think that fact alone will get people to like front run the markets. There's that. And I mean, this is like a yield farming channel. I think CANTO is a pretty good farm, but outside of farming airdrops, farming Frentech, farming Blackbird, there's not much opportunity going on right now. I think there's nothing wrong with avoiding smart contract risk and entering new opportunities that arise in the future. And some with TradFi backgrounds even believe that the current crypto market is much harder than navigating the traditional markets. So if you're still watching this video, I still think that I mean, like, what if you're still here, like, why give up, right? Like when 2024 is like on right there, on the horizon. And I know, like Maker, like I don't want to create FOMO. I'm like just sharing my ideas in real time, and if it plays out, then cool, right? But obviously, like I don't really delete any of my videos. You can kind of see my past videos. Some videos I did really well on, made a bunch of money. Some plays I made sorry, I lost a bunch of money on. So obviously, like I'm like just some random dude on the internet sharing my research. And if you're watching this, maybe you see some value in that. But I honestly, like, no one really knows what's gonna happen. Like even RWAs, like the narrative and like the play, I think is a no-brainer. But there are regulatory risks that are a non-zero. That are like a non-zero chance, that have a non-zero chance of happening. I tend to discount like the regulatory risks in the short term, but like as more time passes, I can perhaps those regulatory risks go higher and higher. So I mean the point is, markets are hard. There's nothing wrong with like holding like simple bags and like just waiting. Don't let some random influencer make you like FOMO into like random bags, because who knows, like maybe CANTO just goes down, right, and I get wrecked, and I was much better like just putting my entire portfolio into Maker. Or maybe who knows, like maybe next week Rune Christensen, the founder, gets arrested for whatever reason, and I'm like very, very sad. I think you kind of get what I'm trying to say. Do your own research. Market conditions are tough. The alternative of high conviction and chill is always there. Even if my plays work and I get like a 2x for something, like my portfolio 2x or something, it's like, who cares, right? Like in like 3 months, there's probably gonna be better plays that you might like have like resonate with more. In like 12 months, we might be in a bull market and maybe it's gonna be a lot easier to make money that way. So I just like encourage everyone to just view my videos with caution, and just make your own decisions. Okay, like we're all adults here. I think you understand that. Okay, I think that's it. Okay, so let's see. Maker, I like it. I mean, look at this, right? It's the oldest DAO. All the tokens are vested. All the funds, or not all the funds, but like most funds have basically sold. And I'm not really a TA person, but on the weekly chart, there's a cup and handle, breakout, right? On the daily chart, there was also a cup and handle, breakout. And I know people, right? People love to call tops, right? It's like, oh, Taiki's wearing Maker bull shirts, like Maker is gonna top. This is a top. But I mean, like, look at this chart, right? This just looks like it wants to go higher. And I'm like doing the second order effect of, okay, Maker goes up. I still think we're pretty early in the trend. Like, what else are people gonna buy? Maybe FXS. It's been lagging, but maybe we're putting in. I don't even know what to call this, right? Like maybe this is like a double booty bottom, right? We got like two W bottoms there, and ideally we see something like this, and we break out of the 20-week moving average, which is like the orange. But to be honest, like if I were to enter like a 5-year coma, and you asked me to like make like a DeFi portfolio, I would probably hold like FXS, Maker, Uniswap, Chainlink, Lido. Did I say Uniswap? And I think I said Uniswap, and like Aave, right? Like, so it's like one of those tokens where I just like think like they're decent holds if you want to like hold in the basket. So I mean, even if you go back to like my channel, back in July of last year, I bought like FXS here. I held through all this volatility, and I sold like like when the Silicon Valley Bank FUD happened. So I have very strong hands. Like, I'm not really bothered with the volatility, and you have to understand that like my risk tolerance is different from risk tolerance. And when I say I'm like, I have big bag as a Maker, right? Like I'm probably like irresponsibly long Maker, but you can't. I make big bets. If I'm right, I make a bunch of money. If I lose, if I'm wrong, I lose a bunch of money. But I survive. So thank you guys for watching. See you guys another time. Bye bye.